Would you believe that a single battered skeleton, buried in the freezing mud of the Ice Age for 60,000 years, managed to manipulate modern science and deceive humanity for over a century? It is completely true. A flawless deception was constructed from fossilized bones uncovered in a French limestone cave back in 1908. It took a proud lineage of humans, the true masters of the eternal winter, and transformed them into hunched, dim-witted beasts in the eyes of history. What is the terrifying truth hidden beneath those ancient layers of stone? Could it be that you and I are carrying the blood of the very creatures we once dismissed as brutish ape men? The groundbreaking scientific revelations of recent years are about to shatter every history textbook you have ever read, exposing a chapter of our past that is both haunting and profoundly moving. We must return to the very beginning, to the dark laboratory where an entire species was stripped of its humanity by a single authoritative pen stroke. The world accepted a lie because it was comfortable believing we were always the chosen masters of the earth. But the bones themselves carried a silent, undeniable protest that would take generations of scientists to finally unlock. For over 100 years, the image of the shuffling caveman dominated museums' textbooks and the public imagination. We looked at them with a sense of superiority, glad that their supposedly primitive line had ended. But science was looking at a distorted mirror, blinded by its own arrogance and a desperate need to stand alone at the top of the evolutionary ladder. You think they were just savage animals driven by base instincts? Stay tuned for the next part to see how modern science was forced to completely rewrite history and expose the massive bias that blinded us to our own ancestors. Let us journey back to 1908, to a quiet village in central France, where 3 researchers regained a nearly complete skeleton from a deep cave depression. When these bones arrived on the desk of Marcelin Boule, a highly influential paleontologist of the era, cultural bias triumphed over objective science. Under the dim glow of his laboratory lamps, Boule stared at the heavy brow ridge and the projecting face, declaring it a failed evolutionary dead end. With that single authoritative declaration, the myth of the ignorant caveman was born. For decades, popular culture depicted them as dim-witted brutes, dragging stone clubs through primeval forests. Boule had committed a catastrophic scientific error, or perhaps he deliberately shaped the narrative to ensure modern humans remained the undisputed crown of creation, using the broken body of a single, deformed individual to define an entire population. It took nearly half a century for anatomists to look closer and realize a shocking truth. This skeleton was never a template for a healthy race. It was simply an old man, a resilient survivor of the prehistoric world, whose frame had been warped by severe osteoarthritis, age, and a lifetime of physical trauma. Neanderthals did not shuffle or slouch. They stood perfectly upright, walking efficiently, with massive chests and dense muscle groups. Their bones were thick and heavy, not because they were primitive failures, but because they were built for a brutal physical world that demanded immense strength. They were engineered for survival, possessing a biological design that allowed them to endure climatic extremes that would have easily crushed a modern human. Yet, the scientific establishment chose to see disease as nature and healing as a flaw. But the mystery deepens. How could an old man with no teeth and a body wrecked by arthritis survive the merciless winters of the Ice Age without being able to chew raw meat? The answer will change how you view prehistoric humanity forever, as we look at the secrets of their survival. Imagine a relentless landscape where temperatures plunge far below zero and predators like mammoths and saber-toothed cats ruled the night. In this unforgiving wilderness, an individual who could no longer hunt or chew tough roots would normally be abandoned to starve, dictated by the harshest laws of natural selection. If you cannot contribute to the hunt, you become a burden to the survival of the entire clan. Yet that is not what happened to this old hunter. Microscopic analysis showed that his severe bone injuries had healed, and his empty tooth sockets had completely remodeled with new bone growth over several years. This means someone was actively feeding him. Someone was intentionally softening his food, keeping the fire burning, and protecting his fragile life within the dark limestone shelters. And when his breath finally stopped, his clan did not leave his remains for scavengers. They carefully placed him in a dug-out depression, shielding his body from the elements. This is not the behavior of wild animals. This is the ultimate expression of compassion, empathy, and social care. The Neanderthals felt grief, recognized the value of the individual, and used the power of community to defy the cruelty of nature. They understood that a person was more than just meat, more than a tool, and more than an object to be discarded when broken. This ancient tribe chose to expend precious resources to keep a disabled grandfather alive in a world where every single day was a battle for life. Their empathy was their true strength, a moral complexity that completely shatters the old, savage caricature. Where did these deeply compassionate people go when the world began to warm? Did they truly vanish into nothingness? The genetic codes unlocked below are about to flip the script entirely, revealing an intimate connection you never expected. In 2010, an intellectual earthquake rocked the scientific community. Geneticists successfully extracted and sequenced ancient DNA from degraded Neanderthal bones. The data that flashed across their screens left the world completely stunned. Neanderthals never truly went extinct. They are alive today, residing inside the very cells of your body as you watch this video. Revolutionary genetic mapping proved that anyone whose ancestry lies outside of sub-Saharan Africa carries between 1% and 2% Neanderthal DNA. These intimate encounters did not happen in a single night, but across an extended human frontier as Homo sapiens migrated into Eurasia roughly 50,000 years ago. It was not a brutal campaign of total genocide, but a beautiful, complex process of genetic integration. The genetic fragments we inherited from them are far from useless. They gave our ancestors vital survival tools, immune variants to fight off novel Eurasian diseases, skin adaptations to handle low northern sunlight, and metabolic shifts to process energy efficiently in freezing climates. The absolute wall that science built between us and them has been permanently dismantled by unassailable genetic code. This was not a quick replacement, or a simple story of one superior species wiping out an inferior one. It was a long, braided history of shared landscapes, repeated contacts, and biological echoes that still sit quietly inside living genomes. We did not conquer them. We absorbed them, carrying their ancient resilience forward into the modern era as a living testament to their existence. If they were strong, intelligent, and integrated into our lineage, why are there no Neanderthal nations today? Why did they yield the planet to us? A true story from the steppes gives us the tragic answer in the next segment. To truly grasp their disappearance, we must look at a heartbreaking discovery made in the remote caves of Siberia. Scientists recovered the DNA of an isolated Neanderthal family, a father, his young daughter, and their close relatives. When researchers analyzed this ancient genome, a profound vulnerability was brought to light. Their genetic diversity was dangerously, tragically low. Unlike the expanding waves of Homo sapiens, who traveled in massive, interconnected networks, Neanderthals lived in small, scattered bands of 10 to 20 individuals. We can envision our old hunter sitting by a dying fire, looking out into the pitch-black night, knowing that for hundreds of miles across the desolate landscape, no other humans existed, except his immediate kin. When extreme climatic shocks hit, when volcanic winters blocked out the sun and migratory prey vanished, these tiny bands faced immediate catastrophe. They were too few to withstand sudden disease outbreaks and too isolated to seek aid from neighboring groups. They did not lose the world because of stupidity or biological inferiority. They simply succumbed to the sheer loneliness and fragility of their isolated existence. Their small communities were highly vulnerable to demographic collapses. A single bad hunting season, a localized outbreak of illness, or a shift in animal migration routes could completely wipe out an entire regional population. They were a people under constant pressure, moving like fragile shadows across immense, empty landscapes that offered no margin for error or recovery. They fought until their final breath, leaving fragments of their souls inside our veins. What warning does this ancient grandfather leave for our modern world through his bones? Stay tuned for the final lesson of our lost cousins. The journey to uncover the truth about the old hunter of La Chapelle is not just a triumph of archaeology. It is a mirror held up to the arrogance of modern humanity. We were quick to judge, quick to cast those who looked different into the shadows of inferiority, creating a false hierarchy based on superficial differences and flawed interpretations. The greatest lesson buried in the frozen earth is the absolute necessity of connection. Neanderthals thrived across Eurasia for over 200,000 years, far longer than our own modern civilization has even existed. Yet they faded when their small communities became too fragmented. A species can be physically powerful, highly intelligent, and deeply caring, but it will still fall if it is forced to face the harsh filters of the universe alone. Unity and cooperation remain our only true shield against extinction. The ancient hunter, who endured a lifetime of arthritic pain and structural damage, has finally been granted his dignity. He is no longer the face of a failed ape-man caricature, but the enduring symbol of a proud human lineage, a father, a protector, and an ancestor who gave a piece of his identity to the modern world. Every new technological tool we develop only brings us closer to their reality, forcing us to admit that the boundaries we draw between human and non-human are far more fragile than we ever imagined. Their story reminds us that survival is never guaranteed by physical dominance or technological power alone, but by the strength of the bonds we build with one another across time and space. If Neanderthals had maintained a larger population and survived alongside us into the modern era, how do you think our world would look today? Would we have built a more compassionate civilization together, or would it have led to devastating global conflicts? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below so we can discuss. Thank you for watching until the very end. Please like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss our deep dives into the hidden origins of humanity. I will see you in the next journey.